So lesson 6.3a is all about how do we now add and subtract rational expressions. You guys know what a rational number or a rational expression is. We know how to divide. We know how to multiply. We know how to simplify. And now let's do addition and subtraction. And we save this as the second type of operation because this type is much more difficult. Remember that adding and subtracting fractions, that's something that requires a common denominator. So this one's going to be a little trickier. So our learning target is that by the end of the lesson, you should be able to add and subtract rational expressions. So remember, when you add and subtract fractions, we do have to have this thing called a common denominator. Okay, and yes, that makes our life a little more difficult, especially when we are dealing with rational expressions and not rational, numbers. When you start talking about expressions, life becomes a lot more difficult. So we have d minus 3 plus d minus 1, and then both of our denominators are the same. So that's the first thing you've got to check for. Oh, these are both the same. So remember, when you add and subtract fractions, the denominator just is the denominator, so 2d plus 1, and then you do whatever is in the numerator. So you've got d minus 3 plus d minus 1, and you've got, combine your like terms, d plus d is 2d, negative 3 times, or negative 3 plus negative 1 is negative 4, all over 2d plus 1. And then to see if we can simplify, we've got to factor, if we can factor. So in my numerator, I get 2 times d minus 2 all over 2d plus 1. And that is my final answer. There's nothing there to simplify. There are no common factors on top and bottom. So that's it. All right, we're going to go easy again. Okay, so we've got common denominator of 2y minus 1, but this time I'm asking you to subtract, and it is minus that whole, both of the things to the right of it. So this is negative 5y minus y minus 3. So distribute that negative, so we get negative 5y minus y plus 3 all over 2y minus 1. So now negative 5y minus y is negative 6y plus 3 all over 2y minus 1. And then let's see what we can factor. We can factor the top, so let's pull out a negative 3. So negative 3 is 2y, minus 1. 2y minus 1 over 2y minus 1. And we now have a factor on top that is also on the bottom, so these simplify to 1, and we're left with negative 3. All right, now I have given you ones where you are going to have to factor first. That's fine, right? Our other expressions had denominators that didn't have any GCFs. We didn't have to factor anything out. They were the same. So now we've got to think. So let's factor x squared minus x minus 6. So this has to factor two numbers that multiply to negative 6 and add to negative 1, or how about negative 3 and positive 2? And then our other denominator has to be two numbers that multiply to 4 and add to 4, so positive 2 and positive 2. So now, when you need a common denominator, you have to write it for me. So you have to identify what is our common denominator. Right? What is our common denominator? So our common denominator has to have all of the factors of each one. So my first denominator has a factor of x plus 2 and a factor of x minus 3. So I need x plus 2 times x minus 3. And now look at my second denominator. It needs two factors of x plus 2. Well, right now my common denominator only has 1, so I need to add on another one. So that is our common denominator. So now we have to rewrite both of these fractions with the common denominator. So here's what you've got to ask yourself. What factor is missing from my first fraction. Like, just look. Hold on, let me see if I can highlight this. Okay, let me see if I can highlight this. Okay. Just look at this first fraction right here. Here it is. What factor is missing from the denominator to our common denominator? Well, it's missing a factor of x plus 2. So to write this with a common denominator, this first fraction of x plus 2 times x minus 3 times x plus 2, right? To multiply by that extra x plus 2, I have to multiply the top by x plus 2 as well. And then I've got plus, and now I need, again, the common denominator to be x plus 2, x minus 3, x plus 2. And what factor is missing from the second fraction? Well, it's a factor of x minus 3. So I have to also multiply the top by x minus 3. So now what do we get? Well, our denominator stays the same, right? We get x plus 2 times x minus 3 times x plus 2. And then on the top, we have 5x times x plus 2 plus 4 times x minus 3. Now, here's the problem. This is where people make their mistakes. They say, oh, hey, look, I can start simplifying things, right? I can start crossing things out. No, you cannot. Because in that numerator, we do not just have multiplication. We also have addition going on. We have two different terms up on top. So you cannot start crossing things off yet. Only when you have multiplication, then you can start crossing things off to simplify to 1. But not until then. So let's do our math. 5x times x is 5x squared. 5x times 2 is 10x. 4x times x is 4x, and 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. And this is all over x plus 2 times x minus 3 times x plus 2. And now combine your like terms. We've got 5x squared plus 14x minus 12 all over x plus 2, x minus 3, x plus 2. And then we have to ask ourselves to see, can we simplify or can we factor 5x squared plus 14x minus 12? Could we factor that? Let's find out. Well, I don't know. So I think most of you are marfing, so let's see if we can marf this thing. So 5 times negative 12 is negative 60. Do we have factors of negative 60 that add to 14? Well, let's think about this. What do we got? 1 and 60, 2 and 30, 3 and 20, 4, what is this? 4 and 15, 5 and 12, 6 and 10. Okay, I don't see... Am I missing something? I don't see any that would add. We need the bigger one to be positive, so these would all have to be negative. And I don't see any that would add to positive 14. So this is our final answer. All right, so here comes the most complicated of them all when we have a subtraction problem like this, where we have to write our common denominator. So we're going to factor. So this is what? X minus 2, x plus 1. Second one is x minus 2, x minus 1. So now we need to write our common denominator. So we need both the factors in my first fraction. So x minus 2, x plus 1. Now, what factors do we need in the second fraction? Well, we need a factor of x minus 2. Okay, I've got that. But then I also need a factor of x minus 1, which I don't have. Fantastic, there it is. So now we're going to rewrite this first fraction with the common denominator of x minus 2, x plus 1, x minus 1. And so what did we have to multiply this denominator by to get to the common one? Well, a factor of x minus 1. So we have to multiply the top by a factor of x minus 1. And then we're going to be minus something. So x minus 2, x plus 1, x minus 1. And in our numerator, or in our denominator, we had a factor of x minus 2, x minus 1. So what factor are we missing? Well, we're missing the x plus 1. So we have to do 4x times x plus 1. Fantastic. So now I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this as one fraction. So my common denominator is x minus 2, x plus 1, x minus 1. And then on top, I've got 2x times x minus 1 minus 4x times x plus 1. And now let's do what's in the numerator. 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x minus 1 is minus 2x. And then minus 4x times x is minus 4x squared. And minus 4x plus 1 is minus 4x. This is all over x minus 2, x plus 1, x minus 1. And now combine your like terms in the top. I know I'm going backwards, but sorry. I'm going to go to the left. So 2x squareds minus 4x squareds is negative 2x squareds. And then minus 2x minus 4x is minus 6x all over x minus 2 times x plus 1 times x minus 1. And now let's see if we can factor that numerator. Well, we can factor out a GCF of negative 2. So we get x squared. Oh, I lied. Negative 2x. Darn it. Negative 2x is my GCF. I forgot the x. So negative 2x times x plus 3. So my final fraction that I have is negative 2x times x plus 3 all over x minus 2, x plus 1, x minus 1, and there is nothing to simplify, so that's my final answer. All right, last problem. We have 4y minus y plus 3 over y squared plus 3y. So first fraction has a denominator of 1. And our second fraction, if we factor this, it's y times y plus 3. So our common denominator is y times y plus 3. Fantastic. So now we're going to rewrite our first fraction, right, with a common denominator of y times y plus 3. So what factor is missing? Well, both of them, because the denominator is only a 1. So I have to take 4y times y plus 3, and then we're going to subtract from that. Well, now I don't need to multiply by, shoot, I keep writing an x, you guys. I'm so sorry. I'm just so used to us having x's as our variables. So the second fraction, we don't need to do anything to it because it already has our common denominator. So let's go ahead and write in our numerator. We get 4y times y, which is 4y squared times y plus 3 minus y plus 3 all over y times y plus 3. So this is 4y squared times y plus 3 minus, minus y minus 3. And then now I need to do, I don't know why I didn't do the multiplication. So 4y squared times y is 4y cubed plus 12y squared minus y minus 3 all over y times y plus 3. And then I need to see if we can factor this. Well, we can. Well, I think we can. We're going to try to factor this by grouping. So I'm going to group the first two terms together, and my GCF is 4y squared times y plus 3 minus 1 times y plus 3. And this is still all over y times y plus 3. Wow, you cannot see that. So hold on, let me come down here. So we get y plus 3 times 4y squared minus 1 all over y times y plus 3. And now I can factor even further. This is y plus 3 times 2y minus 1, 2y plus 1, all over y times y plus 3. Now we have just multiplication in the numerator and the denominator, so I look if I have any common factors. So y plus 3 over y plus 3 simplifies to 1. So I end up with 2y minus 1 times 2y plus 1 all over y. And that is our final answer.